See this crap? Somebody knows I'm talking to you.
Not according to the men in blue.
What is it?
Well, you're looking good.
Sexual
Red and
battery
black are your
patient.
color.
They want to discredit you for what?
Because I'm a dangerous man. Because I know too much about the truth.
Now that end of the world apocalyptic garbage, you right?
You know my work? I was right about Dallas, wasn't I?
How were you right?
Are you familiar with the hantavirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
You're saying it wasn't such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well, what was it? What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare or virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
The plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. The silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the rest of the world have been fighting gooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know. The timetable has been set. It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
They call me paranoid.
Go back to Dallas, Agent Mulder, and dig. Or we're going to find out along with the rest of the country when it's too late.
Scully, it's me.
Yeah.
Why are you whispering?
Mulder, I can't really talk right now.
What did you find?
Evidence of a massive infection.
What kind of infection?
I don't know.
All right, listen to me. I'm going home and then I'm booking myself on a flight to Dallas. I'm going to get you a ticket too.
Mulder.
I need you there with me. I need your expertise.
Mulder, I've got a hearing tomorrow.
I can get you back in time for that hearing. Maybe with evidence that'll blow it away.
Mulder, I can't. I'm way past the point of common sense here.
It's not common sense. Are you there? Scully?
Are you there? Are you there? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. I'm here amongst the multitude. Luke 6:17-9. And he came down with them and stood in the plain in the company of his disciples, and a great multitude of people out of all Judah and Jerusalem, and from the sea coast of Tyre and Sidon, which came to hear him and to be healed of their disease. Now, when it says come down, when Jesus came down with them, right? That meant to enter with grace into them humanity, right? And stood in the plain. Plain is the Greek root for humility and not self and rise and then rise. Show off, right? No showing off. Well, it's hard not to show off if you're bringing back people from the dead. But that's not the miracles that Jesus Christ did. It was to heal people from their vexation, right? And their vexation is like the coming plague, right? And all you have to do is have Jesus, is to go through Jesus' unconditional forgiveness. Meaning, I've been tested the last 3 years. I could have gotten really angry over many things, but I didn't. It was inconvenient. It was uncomfortable. I got annoyed, but I didn't let it go into anger. Because when it's at that edge, I would say, Jesus, help me out here. Help me forgive. Help me forget. Not forget, but to let go of the past, right? So anyway, that's where we're at right now. And I keep telling people that what we're experiencing politically in this country and around the world is a staged show, right? The thing between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It's we already had this in 2020. We're doing it again, right? And that State of the Union. It wasn't a State of the Union. It was a TV expose of what a despot acts like, right? And whoa, there's a whole bunch of people saying hello. Oh, change my glasses here. And there's Martyred Artist. Hello. Martyred Artist says hello. Eating pizza. Yep. It's pro wrestling. Yep. Right? But it's, pro wrestling is entertainment. What we're having is the first throes of, martial law and the end of pretending that we have a civil society on this planet, right? And we have this war in Ukraine, and again, that's, basically a scripted thing. We had the war of the two Vlads, the Russian Vlad and the stand-up comedian Vlad, right? And they're both, very, short, right? They both have complexes. They're both easily manipulated, right? But Vlad, the Russian Vlad, he's at least been at it longer than the stand-up comedian. So he keeps throwing down interest. That little interview with the new vice president, Tucker Carlson. He's going to be vice president, whether it's for Joe Biden or for Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson is going to be vice president, and then maybe president, right? And he would make because Vlad said, "So you're CIA," to Tucker, right? And Tucker was like, "What?" Right? And revolution, the Latin word means to not overthrow, but make space for something new. Well, there's no making space for anything new. It's the same old same. That's what my novel I'm working on right now. It's the same old same. I'm writing 18 novels. And basically, the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, has been trying to facilitate this New World Order, which is the same world order. It's just another Reich. This is going to be the fifth Reich. We had the First Reich, which was the Roman Empire. Then we had the Second Reich, the Holy Roman Empire, the Vatican. Then we had the Third Reich, which was the Nationalist Socialist Party. The Fourth Reich was Hail Hydra. After World War II, Germany bombed in the Stone Age, but the Nazis get out through Operation Paperclip, through the rat line, and we get 1 million Nazis spread across the planet, right, with a lot of money, a lot of power, because they had developed technologies that were far superior. Like all the fires that we're seeing all around the world are space-based energy weapons, right? Because you don't get the fires like that. Like, how do you burn the whole panhandle of Texas in a day? How do you set up just a 6 square mile part of Hawaii that was the last refuge of the Hawaiian people's spiritual and political empire before the Spanish showed up and then we took over? And nothing else. 2 miles down the beach from where that fire was going on and killing everyone, people were sitting on the beach drinking cocktails with little umbrellas in there, and those umbrellas weren't being blown out of those cocktails, right? There's no, hurricane, and that video that we were shown over and over and over of the World Trade Centers, coming down like a waterfall. That doesn't happen just because an airplane burns at 300 degrees. And those floors in the World Trade Center were not held up by the hinky little aluminum foil that was set up to pour the floor. The thing that held that building together was an exoskeleton called the birdcage that was tied into each floor. The more pressure down on those floors, the stronger the building became. So it didn't go pang, 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 pancake, right? And if it did, it would have to go bang, 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 but it didn't. It fell faster than gravity. If you had put a bowling ball on top of that antenna when the building went straight down, it didn't tip over, it went straight down. And if you put a bowling ball on top of that antenna, the building had gone into the basement, and about a minute later, the bowling ball would have hit the ground, right? These are all things that went in front of us. And the two buildings, the two World Trade Centers were taken down because they were basically economically unfeasible. They were losing money. And, Larry, who bought the whole World Trade Center footprint, bought it for like a couple of $1 billion. I mean, nothing, And he had this amazing insurance policy that with every building that went down, he got $1 billion. So he put up like $2 million, and he was paying off the interest, paying it off like you buy your house. And then 8 months later, 9/11 happened, and he made $4 billion. Plus, he owned all the property, straight up. And what they were going after was Building 7, which an airplane didn't even hit. How did it collapse before the World Trade Centers? Because there was something in that building that they didn't want to be seen. And in that was a federal building, right? That was like the Murray building. That was taken down because there was something in it that they didn't want the public to see. And, and all of these always had a plus consequence. After 9/11, we were allowed to go devastate the Mideast, right? Kill 6 million people plus, right? And not even have anyone blink about it, right? Now, Israel's trying to do the same thing, but the problem is they weren't that good at it. It's going to come out that the IDF is to blame for the 1,200 people that got whacked, for their incompetence, for them letting, they knew that Hamas was planning this. They let them do it because they said, oh, wow, this will give us carte blanche to go kill all of them, get rid of them, and take this strip, right? Which will give rise to nuclear war in that neck of the woods, right? And so when that happens, right now, when JoJo came in, one of the first things he did was he started using the federal supply of oil, the reserve, right? And our oil prices went down. It about 3 months ago, gasoline at the pump was 10 cents cheaper than what it was before the pandemic and Donald Trump. Right? And so it's come up about 15 cents. Not as much as it was a year and a half ago, but up 15 cents so these guys can make profit. And when you look at the wholesale price of oil, you say, well, how can that be? It's hovering around $70, meaning guys like Saudi Arabia can't make cheddar, can't make a profit unless it's $90 a barrel and above, right? And so when the Ukraine war started, went up to $160. Boy, Saudi Arabia was happy, right? When in 1972 we had the oil embargo, right? It went from 16 cents a gallon to $1.72 if you could get it. You had to wait online, right? And I worked for a guy who owned this thing called Restaurants Associates. He owned Windows on the World, a restaurant on top of the World Trade Center. And his office was on top of that. And every Friday, I wasn't really a salary guy. I had contracts with him. I did this, that, the other thing for him. And I would come in every Friday, and he would give me an envelope. We'd drink a little something. We smoke some blunts, and then we go have dinner in his private dining alcove above the restaurant, so we could keep an end of view and the sunset, right? So I go into his office, and he's got this really big binoculars, like naval binoculars, like that are on a stand. He goes, go over there, look through those things. Don't touch anything. So I kind of go over and look at it, and the sun is setting in the west, and I'm looking east, and the whole Atlantic Ocean is full of super tankers, more than you could count. And I was just looking through these two, so I only had a view of this, not this. And he said there are over 6,000 of those tankers out there in the Atlantic, 6 miles off the thing. And the Navy won't let anyone go there. They have, their boats all around those super tankers, so no one can touch them. And that's why we had the oil embargo. It wasn't Saudi Arabia. It was the hidden hand, Hail Hydra. So it's not a revolution. So the only way you can deal with this audience is to basically, and so in church, I read Luke, and he came down into them, then meaning, coming down the Greek root that is to enter into below gracefully, right, with grace, and stood, with them. The Hebrew root of them is humanity. So Jesus entered into humanity with grace, right, of intimacy, and stood on the plane. The plane in the Greek root means humility, not to self-aggrandize, to stand on a equal footing, right? So Jesus came into humanity and stood in equal footing in the company of his disciples. Now, his disciples aren't the 13 guys, it's all the people who are there who believe in that Jesus is God. And they have left their life behind them, right? And they're moving forward with Jesus into a new ability to have God's faith. Because the original sin was the vexing of sin. Satan was put there by God to basically offer humanity an opportunity to sin, to make that choice, to be Donald Duck with the devil on one shoulder and angel on the other, right? And if you pick to be God's angel, you are then delivered in grace with God's faith, meaning it's not your faith in God, it's faith, God's faith in you. You don't go into God, God comes into you. And the only way that this thing is not going to be one heck of a shitstorm, if you basically what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in the Strip is basically what's going to happen to the planet. And it's not, you know, a end of time scenario. End times ain't coming in anytime soon. End times ain't coming until basically everyone receives God's unconditional love in their heart. And you read the Bible, and God constantly goes on about Israel. And Israel is us, basically. You know, Israel is God's girlfriend who steals the cigarettes and takes the loose change, right? And that's why, you know, Jesus kicked the money changers out of the temple, because that's God's house. And they were running it like a Dollar General, so slash Las Vegas, So below the conscious mind. So, and that's the real interesting thing. I was part of an interesting study in Duke University in 1968. And it was being run by a corporation called the SEAL Corporation, right? And so all the real high-end, super duper secret stuff that the Hidden Hand doesn't do it by DARPA or by the government or by the national laboratories, because with the Freedom of Information Act, you can find out about it. Yeah, it'll be crossed out, but you can read that. I have a friend who understands how to read crossed out documents. But if that technology is owned by a corporation, it's proprietorially owned. You can't get at it. Sorry, no FOIA request is ever going to get anything out of Lockheed, or General Dynamics or any of those guys, right? And so that's why they're all one cabal. There used to be 500 major military contractors. Now there's only 6. And all the guys on the boards are on every other board. There's only really one. So the only way you can really deal with this is not, to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, because they're the same guy, the same moron, the same mental midget, and I went and watched the State of the Union a number of times after watching all of the guys from Fox and Jimmy Dore and all those guys. And basically, those guys are right, except their perception of it is ideologically bent. Right? They're not coming at it like, scripturally or spiritually, but theologically, right? They are coming at it ideologically, right? So that's a good place to start, but then to pick it apart and see what the Bible says. Anyway, our conscious mind, right, or our consciousness is God inside of us. Our conscious mind is Joe Biden, right? It's, what's materialistic, what's, and so, and if you go to church, that's a good thing. But you should, like today, I went to church. And, I asked the guy who was going to give the lesson, because he asked people to read the little scripturally parts that we're looking at. And basically, I read Luke 6:17-9 and took it apart, where, and he came down with them and stood in plain, right? So I said, that's Jesus coming into the disciples. That means everybody who was there, who gave up their past life and was 100% in Jesus's, belief and had faith. So he was, the thing that healed their vexation or their disease or disability. And what is a disability? That's this disease is the Greek root is dis-ease, right? So dis meaning lack of, ease meaning God's love, right? So disease is the lack of God's love. That's sin. That's the disease everyone's suffering from, right? And it is a disability rather than like a disease like, toe fungus. It's a disability. And so when you disable something in your computer, you turn it off. So we have turned off God's love in our heart. And that's what we have to turn back on. That's the only way we're going to deal with this, right? And so then The next part of Luke I read was Luke 6:20-23. And he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Meaning, if you weren't a rich guy, if you were like me, I live on $400 a month, right? My yearly net worth is about $800, give or take. Right? And if the 400 is like my disposable, the other I get about 800 from Social Security, and so 400 goes straight off to my budgeted things: electric bill, phone, insurance, healthcare, taxes. The other 400 is what I spend on like food and putting gas in the whatever vehicle I have, and things of that nature. Paying for this meal, so I can talk to you. And that would be nice. It's a nice segue. Why don't you throw something into the, like you guys who make above 50 grand a year, you could throw in $50 a month into my PayPal, the due to wake 42 at Gmail. Well, you could do that. Now, I don't need it, but it'd be nice, Anyway, I go back to this. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are thee that weep now, for thee shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. And see, the thing is, the Son of Man, that's like Satan. God, God in man, that's Jesus. Rejoice ye in the day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is a great heaven, for it like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. So the churchy guys just read it, literally. And I'm saying this is a song. The Old Testament is a song of songs, right? It's a verse, Whereas the New Testament is more like liturgy, right? A legal document. That's why they had Pharisees, right? To be lawyers of the Torah, right? Of the scrolls. And as long as you see God as someone who you negotiate with, it's not how it works. You have to let go of everything. And that's what I did. After I died in 2014, I let go. I had to, if I worked like most people, if I put in a 40-hour week at what I did, I could have been making, 3 or 4 million a year, right? But I didn't. I worked 11 hours a year. 11 hours a year. And I made a lot, under 100 grand. I kept it just under 100 grand, so I wouldn't be in the next tax bracket. So, and the first year I did, I worked like 200 hours, and I made a lot of money, right? And I paid taxes on that, and then my legal evil tax accountant said, so. I know you want to work that much? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you only work this much and make only this much, we can say that you actually lost money, because look what you did this year, and this year you're making 1/10 of what you made last year, and so you lost money. And you can do that for about 15 years until you have to rejigger yourself. So that's what I did, right? And those guys who I worked for would keep me on the books for this much, and then I would stay at the mansion down in the Keys while they were in Paris, live off of the fat of their land. And these people were making nine-figure salaries and living paycheck to paycheck. So, and that's why they're corrupt. They have to, be corrupt. So, so that's what I was talking about. That, you know, to be a disciple of Jesus, you can't just go to church and say, "I believe, I was born again." And the guy John Boy, who was on that island and wrote, the Armageddon story, which is the comic book at the end of King James. I mean, he wrote that close to 600 years after Jesus died, just like Paul, who was the Don Draper, the madman, got to call Saul. He was the advertising agent that brought us the Holy Roman Empire, right? But that again isn't. That's why we had two Christians, and then we had six Christians, and now we have over 600,000 different sects of Christianity. Just in the Southern Baptist neck of the woods, they have 60,000, right? So this is why we are in the shape we're in, because no one is letting go of this stuff. We live in a material world, so I need to have a place to hang my hat. So I bought this place in '03, knowing that this would be coming, and I pay $130 a year to live where I am, right? And I don't have a big house; I have a little box, right? I have water and I have electricity, but off the grid, and don't have a car. I have kind friends who lend me theirs every now and then. I go to the doctors and do a little shopping for food, and they take care of me, right? Because they appreciate me. Right? There are a number of people in the churches I go to who appreciate me, right? Because I say things that they're kind of thinking about but never could say. And I don't push it. I don't say, "You're terrible because you're not doing this." And that's the guy who had the Armageddon story at the end of King James. He basically said, "You can be Christian, you can be born again, you can believe in Jesus as our Savior, but if you don't do it my way, you're going to hell." Well, that's not true. Everyone's getting on the bus. Everyone's getting home. It's going to take a long time, or it could be like that. If everyone just put everything behind them and gave, not to a church or to a nonprofit so they could take it off their taxes, but took the shirt off their back. And that's the next part of Luke that I read, So this, 6:20, 23, was blessed are the poor, blessed are the hungry, blessed are the sad, blessed are the hated, right? And so every time we do this, the guy says, "Does anyone have any prayers to say?" And I always say, "Let us pray for the poor, the hungry, the sad, the hated," right? And he was always, until Luke 6:20, 23. And then the last part of Luke, here it is, Luke 6:27-31. "But I say unto you, which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, pray for them which despitefully use you, and unto him that smite thee on the one cheek offer the other, and him that takes away the cloak forbid not to take thy coat also. Give to every man that asketh of thee, and of him that taketh away thy good ask them not to gain. And as he would that man should do to you, do ye also to them likewise." Meaning, that's Jesus saying, give them the cheek and then the other cheek, and don't hit them back, right? Now, Jesus doesn't say don't protect yourself, meaning the thing is to be in grace. And when you're in grace, when God's grace is with you, you're protected. See, that's when you give up all those things of your ego and let God, I'm in a place where I stopped, going, "Oh, what do I need to do?" I just say, "Jesus, help me out here." And then I say, "God, you got my back. I'm following your lead." Right? So that's today's little So, we aren't our mind, we aren't our heart, we aren't our colon. Now, those are the three different minds we have. This is the RAM, right? The random access memory. That's all the cottage cheese between your ears is, right? Your heart is the CPU. That's like sending all the messages to here, just in your body. And your colon is the hard drive. But that is just the material, right? The real essence of your consciousness is God's unconditional love. That's, I keep saying, God is love's co-creation. That's what that is, that consciousness, right? And consciousness is the reality. Everything else is an illusion. And that's kind of the matrix, the movie. It's all an illusion, right? So how much juice do we got left here? So it's been going on for about half an hour. There's only one of you there. What time is it? One. Well, I had to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna do this. I'll be right back. I'll let you listen into the conversations.
I've got a picture. I got it from my mother-in-law. A newspaper clipping from the Tomahawk, and it said, it showed H. Robinson and Les Drew and H. Long in the picture, and it said, H. Robinson was holding the bucket, and Les Drew led taken over the bucket, and H was standing there watching. And it said, it named H. Robinson as a trustee, and Lester as Lucas, and H. Long as a trustee. And they were burning a $60,000 note in 3 years of being paid off. The article said 3 years, a $60,000 note. We had because we paid in 3 years $60,000. And Lester must be German. This was numerous years. And so that was in 1987. It was for the addition to the church, not the ministry hall, but to the classrooms. And Lester was 37 years old. Kevin was 11, something 11, and Meg was 7. He was there before research. But this was in 1768. But Lester was like his eye, oh, yes. Shape line. He had the sideburns, the sideburns. That was his style. And he was this big lamb. He was a 40 pounds. Like 95. He was Lester had when we got married, I had like a, I'd say, between that was close to Temple. Yeah. Summertime comes, I'm in trouble.
Oh, there's two of you still there. Any comments? Any questions? Any insights? What are you doing? 20 minutes and 54 seconds. So I think I've said my piece. Is there anything else to play for you? Let's see.
Well, she has three husbands, hasn't she?
Frontier Science, declassified CIA document. Our exploration commences with a groundbreaking discovery. A declassified CIA document unearthed from the depths of government archives that challenges the very essence of our perceived reality. This document, originating from the enigmatic corridors of 1980s government research, was brought to light by intrepid truth seekers who scoured through reams of classified material. It contains a profound revelation that alters our understanding of existence. The document details the gateway process, a pioneering method developed at the confines of physical reality. This technique, rooted in extensive research and experimentation, was designed to enable individuals to access alternate dimensions, effectively transcending the conventional bounds of time and space. This concept echoes the ancient Eastern philosophy of Maya, as expounded in Vedanta, which posits that the tangible world is merely an illusion, a creation of our sensory perceptions and cognitive processes. Delving deeper, the document ventures into a territory that challenges the foundations of materialistic thought. It argues that what we perceive as solid matter is, in reality, not as concrete as it seems. The brain, commonly perceived as the central organ of perception and cognition, is suggested to be just a conduit. In a radical departure from established scientific thought, the document suggests that it is consciousness that manifests the appearance of the brain, not the other way around. This paradigm-shifting revelation resonates strikingly with the ancient teachings found in the Vedas and Upanishads. These texts have long spoken of the true nature of the self as pure consciousness. The CIA document posits that each individual manifests this universal consciousness, experiencing itself in a myriad of forms through our bodies and minds. This perspective invites a reassessment of our traditional views on reality, consciousness, and the human experience. The implications of this document extend beyond mere philosophical discourse. It suggests a future where the borders between spiritual wisdom and scientific discovery blur, leading to a more profound and unified understanding of the cosmos. The teachings of Advaita Vedanta, a school of Hindu philosophy, and the frontier science of quantum physics seem to be converging, pointing towards a future where these once divergent paths meet. The emergence of this CIA document is not just a revelation of a hidden chapter in government research, but an invitation to a paradigm shift in our understanding of reality. It prompts us to question the very fabric of our existence and opens up new avenues for exploring the nature of consciousness and the universe. As we delve further into the implications and mysteries unveiled by this astonishing document, we invite you to join us on this journey of discovery. Stay tuned as we unravel more about this transformative insight
and its profound impact on our understanding of the world and ourselves.
Well, I can talk to that because in 1968, when I was at Duke University, and I met my sweet rocket scientist, astral projecting queen, who worked for the research arm of DARPA known as SEAL Team, and they were looking to create super soldiers. And when she learned that I was part of the Theosophical Society, had made sensory deprivation tanks, she took me to her boss, Dr. Bittenoff, Mr. Nazi himself, and he said that they had been studying, that he was part of the Fool Society and the other arms of the Fool Society, and he's part of what's his name, the guy with the SS guy who had the castle, and he was trying to bring back the Knights Templars. Anyway, so he said, "Wow, you did that." I said, "Sure. Not only that, I can make them with Faraday cage around them. I can make them with really discrete environmental controls. We can create different atmospheres for the subject to breathe. We can do a lot of things." That's what I did. It's loads of fun. And then he had this article from a Russian imprisoned physicist who developed, they had already discovered elements of looking glass, which, the people in Atlantis and high societies had before. The guys in Central America, the Spanish showed up, there were like 6 million, South American warriors in these cities. That could have, the Spanish had like 12 guys with guns. And these people just walked into another dimension, leaving, their city of gold to the Spanish, right? And see, they, in their sacred books, they were waiting for this guy to show up to do just that, so they could go into a higher level. This was a sacrifice that they went into a higher level. And the Spanish said, "Wow, we got all their gold." Ooh. And that sent Spain down the rabbit hole that basically caused their empire to collapse within about 60 years, because they were all about the gold rather than understanding the truth that lied inside that society there in South America in the mountains, right? So anyway, the Incas, the Mayans, the Toltecs, those guys, right? And they were, part of what Atlantis was, right? But it's really just, the Bimini Bay Triangle is just right over there from them. So anyway, that's where we're at. We have, the guy I was at a lecture in the 90s. I forgot the guy's name was, but he was the president of Lockheed, and he had been Kelly skunk work guy, number one guy, and then Kelly retired and died, and this guy took over. Anyway, he gave a speech about technology, and he said that we have the technology to take ET home, getting faster, Star Trek, and that was in the 90s. He said we've had it for a while, and he was the one who discussed solar warden, that we had, why is the United States constantly in debt? It's because we're taking $2 to $10 trillion out of our GDP and putting it off world into an empire off world. And basically the attitude is squeeze earth dry, because it is this lemon that replenishes itself. Yes, it can go through, dark times, but it replenishes itself. So they're ready to, basically sacrifice all our relations here to get an empire, like a Star Wars kind of empire. Darth Vader, the Force, all of that. And that's, George Lucas sat at the feet of Joseph Campbell for a year just taking notes, and it was straight, and all of Star Wars was straight out of the mouth of Joseph Campbell. Now, George Lucas was nice enough to give him a few, but not credits on the movies, but just when he was creating Industrial Light Magic and a few other of his other entities, he gave Joe because he named one of the things after Joe. So anyway, that's where we're at. We can be the mud puppets that are distracting themselves with the material world. Now, we live in the material world. It's hard not, I don't know how many of you have actually gone hungry. I basically physically fast 1 day a week, sometimes more, right? Once I get into it, I can do it. But there's a point where you do get hungry, right? Just imagine, Gaza Strip has been on lockdown for 15 years, meaning those people didn't have the kind of material access that the average American has at Walmart's, right? And then for the last almost 200 days, they've had nothing to eat, or very, very, very little, or water to drink, or a place to take a crap. I just went over to the nice toilet and took a very pleasant crap, right? So, Martyred Artist, he left. He didn't want to indulge in a conversation of a theological motif or anybody else. There's nobody there. So, how much juice do I have left? So I'm gonna bail. So I hope the guys who watch this later find it intrinsically helpful. Right? Okay. I love you guys. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. As was in the beginning, is now, and shall be, world without end. Jesus. Grace is our faith foundation. And every day and every way, let us take that peace and make it stronger. That's the only way we're getting out of it. Okay.
Yeah.